Hello and welcome to this joint episode of the Deep Dive Podcast between the Deep Dive Podcast and the Neurodivergent Business Collective, soon to be known as Differently Aligned, with Adina Levy, who is actually joining us right now. How are you, Adina?
Good. I'm good. I'll just to clarify, the Neurodivergent Business Collective will remain called that, which is my membership for neurodivergent business owners. My business name has shifted to Differently Aligned Business Coaching because it's less of a mouthful.
That makes sense. So I think sort of like, you don't want to sort of like, you want to simplify it a bit, which I think so. Which I think is going to be really good.
Which is always hard in a transition because I've confused you and me as well.
So we're going to talk about our favorite subject, which is AI, automation, and all that type of techie stuff, which we actually love. Basically, so with AI and automation, so how can AI and automation free up time for people to focus on more creative or meaningful tasks?
I love talking about AI as a thought partner. I really use it to help me explore ideas, think through ideas. If I get it all stuck, I ask AI to give me a bunch of ideas. I work very well with multiple choice. Okay, I don't know what to call this thing. Rather than having a blank piece of paper and trying to write down ideas, I go, all right, give me 20 ideas. And then I can start to choose my preferences and kind of narrow it down. And really I think I get myself quite unstuck with AI often. And maybe there'd be times where I would want to reach out to a friend or a colleague or my husband and bounce ideas around and all of that. But they might be asleep because I have very strange hours when my brain is on.
As we all.
Yeah, so many ways. I guess the short answer is there's so many ways. But I'm finding I've always been a fan of automation. I've been working with automation apps like Zapier and Make. And I love automating anything that really can be at all. And AI kind of takes it that step further. It's not even necessarily looking at the automation side of it, but just what else can we do to get to an idea faster or summarize something faster. I do a lot of repurposing of my content with AI. So it's my voice, it's my ideas, and then it goes and jiggles it around into different ways, but it still ends up being much more me because of how much I feed it. And that's kind of cool because I'll say probably ADHD me, I don't love talking about the same thing 1,000 times or writing about the same thing 1,000 times. I'd rather talk about it in a couple of great webinars or podcasts and then let AI take care of what else it needs to do. And then I can talk about a new topic.
Exactly. And you can sort of repurpose it later in some things, which will basically show a little bit later exclusively to our Substack and also your Neurodivergent Business Collective members.
Yes.
So what are some examples of AI being used to improve accessibility and inclusion for people with disabilities or diverse needs or neurodiverse needs for that matter?
Yeah, look, again, so many ways. I feel each of your questions, they're so brilliant. And I actually think we could have a whole episode on each one almost. So we're going to just scratch the surface. But I think what's great about AI, and I use ChatGPT most often, you can ask for information in the way that you need it. So if you have the brain space for only short sentences or only a bullet list of something, you can tell it, great, that's great information you're trying to tell me, but I have no idea. I can't read that paragraph. Can't take that in. So put it in bullet points, and then you get the information in the way that you need. Or you can go into voice mode and then you can, talk to it in that way. Basically, those are just, specific examples, but it's so easy. The moment you have a sense of the way that I'm taking in information or the way that I'm supposed to be sharing right now, typing or talking, it's not working for me. That's, there's maybe I'm tired. Maybe it's not a skill of mine to type. Maybe I don't feel like talking anymore, with mouth words because I've spoken too much. There are so many ways you can do the inputs and the outputs that make it just what you need in that moment. And to me, that's communication access. And it honors the variability that we have. I'm sure you experience it too, Michael. There's parts of your day in life where you feel like communicating, maybe I do, in different ways. Sometimes I feel like typing. Sometimes I feel like listening. Sometimes I feel like speaking. And you can make the AI kind of work with you in that way. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, I do. So in what ways can automation help reduce stress and workload with everyday life, both at home and at work?
Well, I would say normally I'm amazing at this, but admittedly, to our listeners, I failed today to do what I normally do, which meant I turned up late to my chat with Michael, and Michael took it very well, and I'm so sorry. 99% of the time, I have automations going that emails and things make it very easy these days where, I get an invite to, for example, a podcast chat, and I press a button and it goes into my calendar, and then that particular calendar is supposed to send me reminders at the periods that I need to prepare myself for these things, to say it's coming up in half an hour, it's coming in 10 minutes. I made an error. I added it to the wrong calendar that doesn't send me alerts.
Of course.
And my system broke. And this is why I feel like a complete potato, getting it totally wrong today. And I again, thank you, Michael, for being so understanding. And, I just had it in my head. And it turns out every human has a limited capacity in what we can keep in our heads or what we can manage, just doing by ourselves with our brain power. Let alone disabled folks, neurodivergent folks. We have so many more barriers to being able to do those, I'm going to use air quotes, those normal things, remembering an appointment time. What is time?
But also sort of basically our visual sort of brains are really sort of my visual brain is really good, especially on my desktop here, because I was sort of my Bible is my desktop and all that type of thing. So it's sort of, I can look at things and all that type of thing. And sometimes when I can communicate and stuff like that and basically sort of my own little bubble, it's fantastic. So, yeah. So, I'll tell you about my automation things later, because there's a few sort of tools which I use that sort of help you with that. So that's exclusively for our Substack and Neurodivergent Business Collective members. So I shall tell you about that soon. So how can AI tools support learning and professional development by making information more personalized and easier to access?
So this is something I'm almost putting on my other hat here, in terms of my other business is Play, Learn, Chat. And in that business, I am a speech therapist and a professional educator. And I run training sessions, and I basically teach professionals how to best support neurodivergent children in neurodiversity-affirming ways. So that's where I see professional development. I'm I'm going to wear that hat to answer this question, even though I do learning in both my businesses, learning and teaching. There's a very specific thing I've been doing, which I'll share, which has been finding ways where I can create customized AI. Basically, I'm using custom GPTs, but I'm dabbling with other ways of making custom AI chat tools, which, again, we're going to talk about after. Rather than me just telling people things in webinar format, let's say, and then complementing it often with a workbook where I try to ask people questions so they reflect and then they, actually take some action on the learning. I've been really working hard to develop ways that people can integrate the learning and use these custom AI tools to put it into practice. I'm trying, and not to shortcut. I still want people to learn. They still need to learn, but it's shortcutting that difference between I'm learning a new thing and how do I actually change what I do every day. For example, one of them, I'm just going to pull it up now. So this is cool. So I have one that I created called the ND Affirming Report Language Bot. And when you create a custom GPT, you can create it privately. So I've got some I just use for myself. Some I share, but only with a select group of people if they've got the link. And this one, and it shows me how many people have used it. There's been over 1,000 chats with it. And this has only been around.
Fantastic.
But that's actually fascinating. It has been on my mind whether I may just sell access to that particular tool as a standalone thing. Basically, it's for therapists, educators, people who work and write reports for neurodivergent children to reframe the language that they may use in the reports, not just the words, but also to rethink how they're writing about neurodivergent kids. Do you want to see it? Should I do a little demo of it?
Yeah, maybe see a little bit of a share, I think.
Okay, let me work out my screen sharing.
It's the new okay, so the fourth language bot. Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, cool. I'm just seeing what's on the share screen, so checking you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. Yep, I can see it perfectly. It's a good.
I make it a better size.
I didn't realize you could actually do size. That's interesting
that whole
too.
window. How's that looking?
Yep, looking great.
Okay, all right, we can go back. So this is my ND Affirming Report Language Bot. So people get access to this. Some people who've done some of my trainings get it if we've been teaching about report writing language. And also people who've got my courses and relevant webinars, they get access to this. But yeah, I might sell it as its own thing now. I see how helpful it's been. So it is fed with my teachings. So the whole idea is that this bot is like a version of me. Like it's got a very specific array of.
It's like basically the Adina when you're not available.
Correct. If somebody wanted to consult with me and say, hey, how do I write my reports to be more affirming? They can do that. Like, I can't have 1,000 conversations. I'm actually astounded there's been that many. So that's really cool. Okay, so we go UK. There's a nice little disclaimer there. Maybe you can help me, Michael, think of what's a really unaffirming thing we could say about a neurodivergent child. Maybe we've seen it before. I'm sure I used to write them years
Maybe
ago.
sort of is naughty and refuses to go to sleep.
Billy is naughty and refuses to go to sleep. Here's a reframe. Instead of, you could write something like, Billy finds it difficult to settle to sleep and often resists bedtime routines. Interesting, because I wouldn't have picked resists myself, but anyway. Billy communicates his needs by resisting bedtime. I might need to train it a bit more. It's going a bit interesting with this word resist, because that's not affirming enough for me. Which suggests that winding down for sleep is currently challenging for him. Yes, I'm now rating my bot. It might need a little bit more tweaks, which I can do easily. Billy experiences difficulties with sleep initiation, which impacts his ability to settle at night. Boom, that's a good one. And what I've taught the bot to do is not just present alternatives, but do some kind of coaching and training along the way, like explanations, because I still want it as a teaching tool. I don't want people just to go copy, paste, done. I want it to continue to be integrated with that teaching and learning. So it's a clue to me that I actually need to give it a little bit of an update to make it even more. What do you think about that?
It actually is really good. I'm actually quite impressed with it. So, okay, so how can AI and automation foster stronger collaboration between people by taking care of repetitive tasks and allowing more time for connection?
We're almost doing it now. I'm going to ask, did you get to these questions through AI? Were you chatting with AI to come up with the question?
Yes, to a degree, yes.
And honestly, I also ran the questions through my AI that knows some of my AI webinars where I've talked about AI. That's very meta. And it gave me some of my talking points as in things I've talked about before to remind me I might want to say that in response to you. Now, what I'm saying here is I think then I'm going to guess for you, and certainly for me, my use of AI in this instance has allowed me to approach this chat with you. We can now connect because I kind of know, I know the things I want to say, but you and I can just have our human connection.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't have to sit here for an hour, writing my points, even though I've already thought them previously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so I think then and let alone the fact that we get to connect on our special interest of AI, that's important.
Which is fantastic, because I think sort of AI is basically sort of using our tools. So we're going to end the free episode now. Now, we're offering a 10% discount through differentlyaligned.com/neurodiversion-business-collective. Now, we've got the code DEEPDIVE10, so you can actually sort of go through that and actually sort of join your collective and stuff like that for 10% off.
Yes. Yeah, so anyone using Michael's code will also be helping Michael, because he is now an affiliate for the Neurodivergent Business Collective. And I just think the collaboration, I love this, Michael. I love that we, work together and chat together and help each other out.
And it's fantastic. Your Slack sort of chat and stuff like that. I can put my ideas to you and all that type of thing. And it's been really helpful in my business so far. So yeah, it's been really helpful to the Deep Dive podcast.
Love it. And you're a fabulous member. We love having you there. I love, you can connect and support the other members too. It's
and I'm happy to help the other members as well. And on that note, thank you so much, Adina Levy, for being part of the Deep Dive podcast, our special episode today.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you for sharing your tips and what you're using. It always leaves me with more excitement of what are we going to chat about next?
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Adina.